Your phone rings. It's Telegram. No link, no message, no suspicious file, just a call. You don't even pick it up. And somewhere, right now, that single unanswered call may already be enough to hand a stranger everything on your screen. Read that again. Because in 2026, the rules of hacking changed and almost nobody noticed. This is not a theory. This is not a prank warning shared in a WhatsApp group. This is a documented pattern security researchers have been tracking for months. And what they found is far worse than a scam message asking for your bank details. This is about a call that needs no answer, a code you never asked for, and a billion phones sitting exposed to something most users don't even know exists. Let's start with the part nobody wants to say out loud. For years, the advice was simple. Don't click unknown links, don't download strange files, don't talk to strangers online. That advice made sense in a world where hacking required you to make a mistake. But what happens when the attack doesn't need you to do anything at all? What happens when simply receiving something, not opening it, not clicking it, just receiving it, is the trigger? Think about what that means. A sticker. The kind of harmless, cartoonish image people send each other 100 times a day without a second thought. According to the researcher who discovered it, a specially crafted version of that sticker could trigger code execution the instant it landed on a device, because of how Telegram automatically processed media previews in the background. No click, no confirmation, no warning screen. The phone does the work for the attacker, quietly, invisibly, in the milliseconds between a message arriving and a notification appearing on your lock screen. This is not chaos. This is design. This is exactly what a zero-click exploit is built to do. Remove the one thing every security course has taught you to control, which is your own decision to click or not click. But here's the part that should really unsettle you. When Italy's National Cybersecurity Agency issued a public warning about this exact vulnerability, Telegram pushed back and denied that the flaw existed at all. The company said every sticker is validated on its servers before it's delivered, which they claim makes this kind of attack technically impossible. Now you have two of the most serious institutions in digital security, an internationally respected zero-day research group and a national cybersecurity authority, standing on one side of the argument, and the platform used by more than 1 billion people standing on the other, insisting nothing is wrong. Somebody is not telling the full story, and whichever side is right, the outcome for an ordinary user is the same. Uncertainty, silence from the top, and a countdown clock nobody outside a research lab could see ticking. That countdown was real. Responsible disclosure rules gave Telegram a deadline of July 24th, 2026, to patch the issue before full technical details would become public. Read that again. A fixed date set by outside researchers, not by the company that owns the platform. That is not how security is supposed to work in a healthy system. It's a race against a clock that the people actually at risk, you, sitting there scrolling your phone, never even knew was running. I had to hijack accounts at scale, not one at a time, but across entire regions through what's known as session hijacking. Think about what a session hijack actually means. It's not guessing your password. It's not tricking you into typing your password into a fake page. It's stealing the already logged in state of your account, the digital equivalent of someone walking past your unlocked front door while you're standing right there holding the key and simply letting themselves in through the back. You weren't trying to log in anywhere. It just appears, often late at night, often while your phone is sitting untouched on a desk or a nightstand. Within minutes, sometimes seconds, a call comes through. The caller might claim to be from Telegram support, or a delivery company, or a recruiter, or, most dangerous of all, someone posing as a friend, casually asking, almost as an afterthought, for the code you just received. Read that again, slowly. The message and the call are timed to arrive together on purpose, because confusion is the entire weapon. In that brief window of surprise, before your brain has caught up to what's actually happening, a huge number of people simply hand over the code without thinking. And once that number leaves your hands and enters theirs, they don't need your password. They don't need your fingerprint. They don't need to break any encryption at all. They can simply log into your Telegram account from their own device using your own verification as though they were you. This is where the real horror sets in, because Telegram markets itself, above almost anything else, as the privacy app, the encrypted app, the app authoritarian governments supposedly can't easily monitor. That reputation is precisely why so many activists, journalists, business owners, and everyday users trust it with conversations they would never put anywhere else. But what most people are not seeing is that this reputation for privacy creates a second, quieter danger: overconfidence. If you believe the app itself is unbreakable, you stop questioning the human moment where the actual break happens. The call, the code, the 30 seconds of hesitation. But here's where it gets worse. The attacker doesn't stop at reading. They start impersonating. Using your hijacked account, they message your contacts, your family, your coworkers, your clients, pretending to be you. They ask for money. They ask for codes. They send malicious links dressed up as something you'd naturally share. And because the message is coming from your real account, with your real name, your real profile photo, your real history of conversations with that person, almost nobody questions it. Now step back and look at the bigger historical picture, because this is not the first time a call, nothing more than a call, has been the doorway into someone's entire digital life. In 2019, researchers uncovered a vulnerability inside WhatsApp, another massive messaging platform used by over 1 billion people, that allowed attackers to install the notorious Pegasus spyware onto a victim's phone through nothing more than a missed voice call. And this is exactly the precedent that makes the current Telegram situation so alarming. We have already seen, in the real world, that just a call can be a full weapon. We have already seen that messaging platforms with 1 billion users are the highest value targets on Earth for exactly this kind of attack. So when researchers today start flagging call-based social engineering and zero-click vulnerabilities inside Telegram, they are not inventing a new fear. They are recognizing a pattern that has already been proven to work, at scale, before. According to informed analysis in the cybersecurity space, this is precisely why sophisticated attackers, not just petty scammers looking for a quick payday, but state-linked and mercenary spyware operators, have historically paid enormous sums, sometimes running into the millions of dollars, for exactly these kinds of zero-click or minimal interaction vulnerabilities in messaging apps. Because a bug like this isn't just a technical curiosity, it's a master key. It works on any of the billion-plus devices running the vulnerable version of the app, regardless of how careful, how educated, or how cautious the person holding that phone happens to be. Read that again. Your own carefulness stops mattering the moment the vulnerability lives in code you never had the chance to inspect or approve. And here's a detail that most casual users never even think about. Telegram's own policies around user data have shifted in ways that quietly change the entire privacy equation. As of 2026, the platform's policy states that it may disclose the IP addresses and phone numbers of users who break its rules if it receives valid judicial orders to do so. There has been no reversal of that policy. Think about what that means layered on top of everything else. The app markets itself as the encrypted safe haven, the one authorities supposedly can't easily access. And yet, the company itself has publicly acknowledged conditions under which it will hand over exactly the kind of identifying information that connects an anonymous account to a real human being, a real location, a real phone number. That is not necessarily sinister on its own. Law enforcement cooperation exists on nearly every platform. But it does mean the myth of total, untouchable privacy that draws so many users to Telegram in the first place is, at best, incomplete, and at worst, dangerously misleading to people who are relying on that myth to keep them safe. So now, let's bring all three threads together, because this is where the real picture finally comes into focus. Thread 1, a zero-click vulnerability so severe it scored 9.8 out of 10, discovered by internationally respected researchers, publicly disputed by the very company whose product it targets. Thread 2, an active, ongoing wave of session hijacking through QR codes and authorization prompts, confirmed by a professional threat intelligence firm tracking real-world exploitation, not hypothetical risk. Thread 3, a call-based social engineering attack, spreading right now among ordinary users. That requires no advanced hacking skill at all, just a well-timed phone call and 30 seconds of human hesitation. 3 separate attack surfaces, 3 separate mechanisms, one single platform sitting at the center of all of them, carrying the private conversations of well over 1 billion people worldwide. And this is where you have to ask the uncomfortable question. If a platform this large has this many active, documented attack vectors running in parallel, what does that say about the gap between the image company's project and the reality underneath it? What most people are not seeing is that trust in an app is not the same thing as security in an app. Trust is a feeling built from marketing, reputation, and habit. Security is a mechanical fact built from code, disclosure processes, and how fast vulnerabilities actually get fixed once they're found. Telegram has spent years building the feeling. The mechanical fact in 2026 looks considerably shakier. Now, consider the human side of this, because numbers and vulnerabilities only matter once you translate them into what actually happens to a real person. Imagine someone running a small import-export business through Telegram, coordinating shipments, negotiating prices, sending invoices because it's fast, convenient, and feels private. One ordinary evening, a 6-digit code lands on their phone. 30 seconds later, a call comes in from someone claiming to be Telegram's support team, warning about suspicious activity and asking them to confirm the code to secure the account. In the panic of that moment, the exact panic the scam is engineered to produce, they read the numbers out loud. Within minutes, their entire account, years of client relationships, years of financial records, years of private negotiations, belongs to a stranger on the other side of the world. Their own contacts start receiving messages asking for urgent money transfers, written in their own tone, using their own name, arriving from what looks, in every visible way, exactly like them. Or imagine a journalist working in a region where speaking freely carries real danger, someone who chose Telegram specifically because of its reputation for encrypted private communication with sources. If their account is compromised through a session hijack or through the sticker-based zero-click flaw currently under dispute, every source they've ever protected, every off-the-record conversation, every document shared in confidence becomes visible to whoever now controls that session. Not because they made a mistake, not because they clicked a bad link, but because the very foundation they trusted turned out to have a hole in it nobody warned them about in time. This is the part that should really sit with you. Neither of these people did anything wrong in the conventional sense. They didn't fall for an obviously fake link. They didn't ignore basic warnings. The entire danger here lives one level below the advice most people have been given for the last decade, in a place where just don't click suspicious things simply doesn't apply anymore, because the newest and most dangerous attacks don't need you to click anything at all. So what actually protects you in a world like this? According to security researchers and the platforms themselves, there are concrete steps that genuinely reduce your exposure, even if no single step makes you completely untouchable. Two-step verification stands out as one of the most important, because it adds a second layer beyond the 6-digit code. Alone. A password only you know, which means even if someone tricks you out of that code, they still hit a locked door behind it. And yet, according to the very research documenting this wave of attacks, An enormous number of users never turn this feature on simply because they assume the basic code system is already enough protection. It isn't, not anymore. Beyond that, restricting who can call you, who can add you to groups, and who can see your phone number at all shrinks the surface area available for an attacker to even attempt contact in the first place. Regularly checking your active sessions, the literal list inside your own settings of every device currently logged into your account, lets you catch an intrusion before it spirals into impersonation and financial fraud. Terminating unfamiliar sessions the moment you spot them can be the difference between a contained scare and a catastrophe involving your entire contact list. And perhaps most importantly, treating any unprompted verification code as an active threat signal, not a confusing inconvenience, changes the entire psychology of the attack. The scam depends on your confusion. The moment you recognize the pattern, instead of panicking inside it, the entire mechanism collapses. Because a scammer calling to ask for a code you understand you should never share has nothing left to work with. But here's the sobering truth underneath all of that advice. None of it touches the zero-click vulnerability. None of it stops a specially crafted sticker from potentially triggering code execution the instant it's received, if that flaw is as real as the researchers who found it insist it is. That layer of risk sits entirely outside your control, dependent instead on how quickly, or how reluctantly, the company at the center of this story chooses to acknowledge and patch what outside experts say they've found. And that is precisely why this story matters far beyond the inbox of any one user. Because when a platform serving well over 1 billion people disputes a critical vulnerability flagged by internationally respected researchers, the outcome of that disagreement isn't just a headline. It's the difference between over 1 billion phones staying exposed or getting fixed, based on how one company chooses to respond to pressure it did not ask for and, by its own public statement, does not accept. And this is where the story leaves you standing at the edge of something still unresolved. The disclosure deadline came and went in the summer of 2026. Whether a patch quietly followed, whether the dispute between researchers and the company was ever fully settled, whether the technical details behind the flaw were eventually published in full, remains the kind of question that unfolds slowly in follow-up reports most casual users will never see, long after the initial headlines fade from anyone's feed. Meanwhile, the call-based scam built around confusion and a 6-digit code isn't waiting for any of that to resolve. It's active right now, spreading through exactly the kind of ordinary, unremarkable moment the title of this very story describes. A phone ringing, a stranger's voice on the other end, and 30 seconds in which everything can change. So here's the question worth sitting with long after this ends. If the biggest messaging platforms on Earth can be this exposed, not through some exotic movie-style hacking sequence, but through a sticker, a code, and a call, what does that actually say about how much control any of us really have over our own digital lives? What most people are not seeing is that the next major breach probably won't announce itself with flashing warnings or dramatic system failures. It will look exactly like this. Quiet, ordinary, disguised as something completely mundane, arriving in the middle of an otherwise unremarkable evening. And the real story is that the next call you get might be exactly like the last one you ignored without a second thought, except this time, you won't get the warning first.